guys, it's KMCers. I'm Kirsten and welcome back to another spooky Saturday true crime video. So today we're going to be talking about a young girl who was murdered. So let's just jump right into this case. Martha Elizabeth Moxley was born on August 16th of 1960. She was 15 years old from Greenwich, Connecticut. Her parents are Dorothy and John David, and she also had a brother named John. Let's describe the incident that happened. So on the evening of October 30th of 1975, Martha left with friends to attend Mischief Night, which kind of consisted of Ding Dong Ditch, TPing people's houses, egging people's houses, that kind of thing. She was last seen falling over the fence with Thomas near the pool neighbor Skekel's backyard at around 9:30 p.m. On October 31st, Martha's body was found underneath the tree in her parents' backyard. Let's talk about the investigation. Okay. Her pants and underwear were pulled down, but there was no signs of a sexual assault. They did find a 6-iron golf club near her body, and an autopsy determined that she was bludgeoned and stabbed with that golf club. Her friends said that she was flirting and actually kissed Thomas Skekel that night, and they did trace the golf club back to the Skekel family. Thomas kind of became the prime suspect as he was the last person to see her, and his father did not help his case because his father forbid the police from accessing his school and mental health records. They also had a live-in tutor named Kenneth Littleton that was also a suspect for a time period, but he was cleared and they had no one to charge for this murder. So the case ended up growing cold for decades. Over the years, though, Thomas and his younger brother Michael changed their alibis about what they were doing that night. Michael claimed that he was window peeping and masturbating by Martha's home at around 11:30 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. But the case only got reopened because William Kennedy Smith was tried and acquitted for a rape in 1991. A rumor surfaced that William was present at the Skekel home and might have insinuated that he may have been involved. But it was proven to not be true, and the case at this point was reopened though. Sutton Associates, a private detective agency, hired a man named Rushton Skekel in 1991 to conduct their own investigation into what happened. The report was later leaked, stating that Thomas and Michael changed their stories on what had happened that night. In 1993, an author by the name Dominic Dune published a book called A Season in Purgatory. But in 1998, an author by the name Mark Foreman published Murder in Greenwich, which named Michael Skekel the killer, and also pointed out a bunch of mistakes that the police had made in this investigation. Detectives Steve Carell and Frank Garr also did believe that one of the Skekel boys was the killer. Martha did also keep a journal. She described her relationship with the Skekel brothers in it quite a bit. The month before her death, she did write that she was going to get ice cream with Michael and Tommy. As she wrote, "Went driving in Tommy's car and I was practically sitting on Tom's lap. He was putting his hand on my knee." Her friends told police that Tommy wanted to date her, but his advances may not have always been received well. On October 4th of 1975, she also wrote in her journal, "I went to a party. Tom S. was being an ass. At the dance, he kept putting his arms around me and making moves. Tommy had an alibi, and they did not have enough evidence to arrest him. So, the trial. In June of 1998, a one-man grand jury reviewed all of the evidence on the case. After 18 months investigation, they had decided that they had enough evidence to charge Michael Skeckel with the murder. On January 9th of 2000, an arrest warrant was issued, and that same very day, Michael turned himself in. He was released on a $500,000 bail. On March 14th of 2000, he was arraigned for the murder in juvenile court as he was 15 years old when the crime occurred. In January 31st of 2001, a judge ruled that Michael be tried as an adult, and his trial wasn't to begin until May 7th of 2002. Prosecutors hinged on a theory that Michael did this in a jealousy rage, because he was jealous over Martha's relationship with Tommy, and that he did this when he was drunk. Michael had a history of a lot of drinking and being a troubled child, so this was probably not far off from reality. They also presented Martha's journal as evidence to show the rivalry between the brothers. A month before the murder, she wrote that Michael was out of it. He was being a real ass. He kept telling me that I was leading Tom on. Michael jumps to conclusions. I really have to stop going over there. And then he changed his alibi to he was at his cousin's house that night. But the jury ended up hearing the tape that they recorded when he got booked, and he talked about being in a tree masturbating, and it was possibly the same tree that Martha was found under. We have no idea. But during that time, he did not confess that he committed the murder. Prosecutors took that tape and some graphic images and created a computerized version of what could have happened. They also took the audio tapes that Michael said that he was afraid that he might have been seen that night, but they cut out the part of him talking about jerking off, giving them the impression that he committed the crime. Two students from Elon School, a treatment center for troubled youth, testified that Michael confessed to killing Martha with the golf clubs. Gregory Coleman, a student there, testified that Michael was given special privileges and bragged about how he was going to get away with murder because he was a Kennedy. Thomas and Michael were nephews to Ethel Skeckel Kennedy, the widow of U.S. Senator Robert F. Kennedy, which is also President J.F. Kennedy's sister-in-law. So that's where he says he's a Kennedy and he can get away with this. June 7th, 2002, Michael was found guilty and sentenced to 20 years to life in prison. Let's talk about the aftermath, because there is quite a bit of things. So Michael was released on an appeal that he didn't have a fair trial in 2013. In 2018, Connecticut Supreme Court overturned his conviction. In 2020, the murder charges were dropped and he will not be retried. He served 11 and a half years in prison. So these are all of the TV shows that you can watch this case at. So the case was on Unsolved Mysteries in February of 1996. There was a documentary series called City Confidential in 1999. There was a TV series called Cold Case Look Again in 2003. Also in 2003, True TV had a series called Mugshots. Apathy released a song called Martha Moxley Rest in Peace in 2014. The rights to Kennedy's book, Framed, was by FX Productions to develop a multi-part series in 2017. Oxygen did a 3-part documentary called Murder and Justice, The Case of Martha Moxley in 2019. Crime Junkie did a podcast in 2020, but I also am going to touch base on the family here. John did move to New Jersey. That's Martha's brother. And then John David, Martha's dad, died suddenly in 1988. And Dorothy Moxley, which is Martha's mother, died in 2024 due to complications of influenza. So I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to show some photos of her life. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.